Meditating with metaphors. This time I'll read you parts 1, 2 and 3 of the epilogue, followed by a short word of thanks and a closing reflection. Afterward, part 1. The caregiver lived in what was called a land of prosperity and well-being. He knew a child just 2 years old who sat clutching a ticket in a small hand, waiting for the next round on the carousel at the fair. After that second ride, his mother was gone, for good. He was passed from institution to institution, and his well-being did not improve. He became a small, needy, skittish, anxious, manipulative, and aggressive creature. A crooked sapling like that is hard to straighten again. Remember, the first 1,000 days are crucial. Child psychiatrist Binu Singh puts it like this: children who act difficult are children who are having a difficult time. He knew a girl who was approached one day at the school gate by a mustached predator. He told her intensely, convincingly, that her parents had died and that she needed urgent examination. He then took her into his car and drove her to a forest where he assaulted her. Afterward, he left her in a daze back at the school gates. Years of depression, self-starvation and self-harm followed that single dark half-hour of her life. He himself had been the little boy who, after the death of his 6-year-old brother, whom he had never known, was placed by their mother under a glass dome on a rickety throne to be protected. There he was overfed under the dark stares of his older sister and brother, who had to bring him the scarce sweets from the shop, licking their lips in resentment. At age 8, the little prince was abruptly dethroned by the birth of a baby sister. By then, the more subtle form of neglect, overindulgence, had long since crept in and carved itself deep. As he grew defiant, it gave way to open abuse. Thus ends, for the sake of the reader's peace of mind, this shortened account of human mistreatment. He had never met a single person who, even from a distance, could be called enlightened. Part 2. Fortunately, there were people of goodwill all around. Fortunately, no war raged in the streets, no disaster struck. The weight that follows this stark and rawly realistic passage points to the necessity of meditation. Lasting change can only arise from within. In the mud, like the death of a loved one or the accident described in the foreword, a seed may fall, germinate, and grow roots that stretch meters deep up toward the water's surface, where the lotus unfolds its many delicate petals. There still exists a great deal of misunderstanding, resistance, even aversion toward much that has to do with self-inquiry and meditation. It takes openness, a willingness to see from another angle, to reach the already near and ever-present core of our knowing. Marcel Proust put it like this: you are truly on a journey, not when you travel to a new place, but when you see with new eyes. From The Prisoner. He once knew someone who cherished a saying attributed to the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus: Pantare kai oden mene. Everything flows and nothing remains. He once considered having this phrase in Greek letters tattooed on his forearm, until he came across an article about the 1933 Nobel Prize winner in physics Erwin Schrödinger, who had written, "For eternally and always there is only now, one and the same now. The present is the only thing that has no end." The forearm remained unmarked, but that final sentence was tattooed into his mind instead. Part 3. And Schrödinger wasn't alone. Not only did he believe that consciousness is the fundamental fabric of all things, the total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings. But also did his predecessor, who won the very same Nobel Prize back in 1918, namely Max Planck, who stated plainly, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." Then there was the Portuguese poet Fernando Pessoa, literally person, who masterfully divided himself into writing personalities and explored his own mind with surgical precision. He declared, "To live is to be conscious. See also Chronicle of a Life that is Passing By." And Jorge Luis Borges in Ficciones wrote, "The subject of knowledge is one and eternal." Bernardo Kastrup and other neo-idealists argue that matter rests in and upon consciousness, not the other way around. From the opposing camp, Daniel C. Dennett remains a compelling figure. See Consciousness Explained. From Albert Einstein, these two essential lines: "I never think of the future. It comes soon enough. Imagination is more important than knowledge." And from his friend, someone Einstein both looked up to and looked out for on their shared walks to work, the brilliant logician Kurt Gödel, comes this striking thought: "I am convinced of the afterlife, independent of theology. If the world is rationally constructed, there must be an afterlife." Playfully, one could conclude, after such towering minds, that the formula of the theory of everything consists of 13 symbols: CONSCIOUSNESS. From the ancient Epicurus, with Michel de Montaigne following in his footsteps, these timeless words deserve to be left standing here. Do not fear death, for as long as we exist, death is not, and when death is, we are no longer. There may be no to be continued, but who knows, an English version of another book might one day appear. About the photos, Now and then a horizon may be slightly tilted and some images are clearly out of focus, yet they offer a pictorial impression which is sufficient since content takes precedence. That said, with more editing experience, some of these issues could have been avoided. It's a pity that in Clipchamp, a reasonable, solid, free tool, several photos were unceremoniously cropped. The aim was to create a calm background to support the voice, certainly not to cause irritation. If I've managed to inspire viewers to look up more often at the splendor and majesty of so many often breathtaking natural phenomena, then the mission is already accomplished. Acknowledgements and closing. In the booklet itself, you'll find a longer word of thanks. Here, just a short one. Without my daughter and daughter-in-law, I could never have made this booklet. Without ChatGPT, I could never have made these videos. The digital guide that, like a wheezing double, served as a sharp pebble in my shoe on the path towards the light in the digital ocean. Without Jeff, I would have made an even bigger fool of myself. Without my son, I'd still be struggling to figure out some of the simplest edits. And last but not least, thank you, dear listeners and viewers, LGBTQIA+ and beyond, for your time, attention, kindness and support. Onwards to the blazing light that purely and endlessly resides in each of us. Jostri.